We're getting thumbs up. Hello and welcome to the Artisan School. I get thumbs up that this is time to go. It's time to start educating, or at least going through a lesson that is all about, I would say, the biggest thing in tuning, piano tuning. And so a lot of people talk about perfect unisons. A lot of people talk about just the right stretch. A lot of people talk, including myself, about the tuning levers themselves, which don't even get me started. That's my happy place. But I wanted to talk to you about really the most important thing, and that is tuning stability. Funny enough, we just got done working on this portion of our course, and it is all on tuning stability. And the reality is, your customers are not going to call you back to talk to you about your piano tuning lever. They're not going to talk to you a lot about the stretch, or how great those octaves sound, or how they're not. They're going to call you back and say, hey, one of the notes sounds kind of funny, or that something sounds off. And 9 times out of 10, my friends, that is a stability issue. That is the unison out of tune because we have a stability issue. And so what I would love to do in this lesson is talk to you about really the 3 core ways that you can ensure tuning stability, and then 3 ways that you can test your tuning stability. A little tired, so this might get rough today. I might be tripping over my words today. So you guys will be gracious to me. I have my Gatorade, and we'll just get through this. But tuning stability is really what I'd like to talk about. And it really does start with position. And so I want to talk about the 3 ways that you can kind of ensure that tuning stability. And so your technique and positioning are critical. And so what I mean by position and technique is we want to position our bodies so that we're more intimate with the tuning pin. That sounds weird, that sounds hokey, but call it what it is. We want to go ahead and shorten that distance between us and that tuning pin. And that's the first kind of thing that we want to do in making sure that we're doing a stable tuning, and that we're going to have something that lasts long term. Now, I see a lot of people, and granted, they may have been tuning for years, and they have worked through their stability issues. But a lot of people I see when they're tuning way over here. And this is something that you're not going to have as much control. You're not going to have, your whole body is extended. And so you're extending your energy to move very small movements. And so what we teach here at the school is really, if you're on a grand piano, this happened today. The bench was sitting right here like this as normal. I take it and I pivot the bench so that I'm now sitting right here in front of you. I'm looking towards the bass end. Stacy, are you there? Can you hear me? Stacy?
Yeah.
Right
yeah.
there? Okay, good.
You're great. You're good.
I was like, wait a second. What if they're not even listening? Like,
no, we are.
That's okay.
We're just like enthralled.
No. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't frozen. So literally position your bench so that I guess that would be not parallel. I guess you're perpendicular to the piano. So I'm facing the bass end now, and now I'm working with my body positioning. Again, I'm talking about grands right now. And so what I want to do is really retain a good shape. And so what I mean by that, let's go with the ergo hand. Feeling that on this. Some people kind of go up high, and I'm like, why do that when you have this gorgeous, nice little elbow rest right here? So for the most part, I'm kind of holding, space right here. I'm just letting it sit right there. And so this is the first thing I want to talk to you about the position, is really getting so that you're in line and you're not extended out here. You're not too close in. You're just at a comfortable distance. And again, we've talked about this before. and I'm just keeping this square right here. And just keeping that as we go. So that is going to be absolutely critical. Is get perpendicular to the piano, get in nice and tight. You can use the piano itself to kind of position your arm, and that is going to be incredibly important. And so that position is huge. Another part of this position is really, you don't want to go crazy with your tuning lever and string position. So for the most part, I'm at 11 and 1. If this is my straight line with the string, I'm between 11 and 1 with my hammer tuning lever. I'm not way over here. I'm not way up here. I'm between this 11 and 1 o'clock area, just so that I maintain that control and I'm not extending myself too far. Questions about either of those so far?
No
Pretty
questions?
straightforward. Pretty straightforward. The final thing that I want to talk to you about kind of that position is, again, with the grand, is really the hand holding the lever. Now, I know that you will get used to wherever you've gotten used to, and that's fine. I've seen people kind of do this little thing where they're like pinching the end. I've seen people kind of hold it in this weird position and they kind of go like that. I've seen people way up here. They've gotten used to it and they've adapted to it. That's fine. That's cool. I say that we want to kind of encapsulate when we're tuning a grand piano. I like to kind of encapsulate the lever with my hand, with my palm, just so that I'm able to make super fine, minute changes to that tuning pin. And again, if I'm over here, I'm just potentially flag pulling it a little bit. I'm bending it potentially too much, but if I'm right here, it is I can make small, succinct, very natural and really kind of organic feeling. And so again, you can learn here, you can do all that. But I would just say try this because you might be amazed at how natural that feels and organic that feels. So that position is important. Really quick, when it comes to the upright, I want to be up close. Again, this idea of up close and personal. I'm going to be right up to the front of my legs are touching the front of the piano. I'm kind of leaning, not leaning, but staring towards the bass end, and I'm keeping this position, this arm position, very similar to the grand piano, but my lever's up here. With an upright piano, I am on the ball side, the very top portion, but again, I'm not here, I'm holding it steady, and I'm keeping this pattern. If you've ever shot a bow and arrow, it's somewhat similar. Stacy, thumbs up if you can. You're still there? Good. Think of them almost like a bow and arrow. Again, I was literally just filming this. If you've ever shot a bow, your elbow isn't down here. It's not way up here. It's kind of in this line. You have this perfect, and that's kind of what I'm doing when I'm tuning. And I will lower or raise my body depending on the height of that tuning pin to try to recreate this. Because again, I want to channel all this energy and have this great positioning, because all this flows into the number 2 thing that we want to watch out for. We want to really we want to harness, and that is fine micro movements. And so we've talked about this before, but we want the nice position and technique so that we can then do fine micro movements. When I started learning tuning pianos, I didn't really understand that. I was not taught that. And so it was literally like this. It was like this. It was so bad. Please. 15-year-old David, I wish I could like step through a portal and be like, no, my friend, no. There's a better way. So many pianos would be much more happy, but we don't want to do these swooping motions. That's not what's going to give us tuning stability. That's not what's going to be the ticket. Good grief. Whoever's going to come here next week is going to have a field day with this piano. So again, we want to do smaller micro adjustments because we want to feel that pin, and we don't want to overpull it, underpull it. You don't want to bend it. We want to ratchet. We want to ratchet it up into place. And again, the swooping motions. You can get there, but my goodness, you can feel the instability. So here's how we would like to do it. It is so much more organic, so much easier, and so much, honestly, more enjoyable to have that control, and using minimal effort is huge. And the ability to do those fine, minute movements and lock it into place is phenomenal. So our body position, our hand position is critical for us to get those micro movements to in turn have tuning stability. The final portion of really getting that core tuning stability is the overpull and then setting it back, setting the pin into place. Now, I know there's a lot of talk about like never flagpole, never twist, never bend. And the reality is you are doing some amount of that twisting, bending, flagpoling when you're putting the note into place. And so for what we're doing here, let's just say this note right here, very out of tune. Can you all hear that? Victor, can you hear that? Good. Here we go. I got it right up to pitch, but I don't think that it's going to hold because I only barely got it up to pitch. I think it's going to fall flat. So I'm going to go one more click. It's a little bit. Boom. So doing that overpull and then sinking it back in, just right in tune, and then doing a fairly, you don't have to go crazy with your test blow, but you do want to do a bit of a test blow. And there you have it. You've locked it into place. So again, technique and posture really, really matters. And that leads to the second portion, which is the micro adjustments, that micro movement of the tuning pin. And then finally, you have your overpull, and then you're locking in the note. Those are really the kind of primary, I almost said primal, but it almost is that, those primal adjustments, those primal techniques that need to be harnessed in order to do a great tuning and to be a great tuner. Questions? Robert, what do you got for me?
What percentage of pressure would you say is clockwise? When you set the pin, how much pressure are you actually pushing down on the actual hammer? Do you have any amount of pressure there? Is there sort of a balance, or are you strictly pulling it clockwise? You're right before you set it. Do you ever kind of push it down a little bit? What's the feel of that?
Two things. One is I'm not just pressing counterclockwise with it. I'm actually pressing counterclockwise and then down. I am pressing a little bit down with it. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If I were just to go, so it's definitely a lot more pressure pulling it up. There's just more force that I'm having to pull. If our average, what would we say? The average torque in a piano is going to be what, 112 pounds of torque? Is that spec? Michael, you might know the answer to that.
I don't know the exact number, but that's the ballpark. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think 120 to 130.
So if that's the case there, Robert, I would say I'm using about a third to half as much pressure when I'm pushing it down. I would say I'm pulling it up by maybe 3 to 5 cents. That might be a little bit much, but I believe that's close to what it is, and then I'm easing it into place. This is one of those skills that is it's really essential to have somebody watch you and kind of give you that hands-on. And so whether you're coming into an in-person event like this or having a mentor right there on site to show you, it's really important. And this is one of those, you can't just learn it from a book. Now, there are 3 things that I'm going to go into to help you know if your tuning is stable. And we'll go into that in just a second. But does that answer your question, Robert, as far as percentage-wise?
Yeah, I think so. I do find myself pushing down this way when I go back from top to bottom instead of just left to right. Like if I'm pushing back left, do you also push top to bottom a little more pressure there? Or do you push at all? Am I making sense?
Yeah, you're making sense. So if I'm, let's see if I can get a good shot of this. So granted, this is not the right angle, but pretend, so if this is the angle of it and it's on the tuning pin and I've cranked it up, okay? Imagine this being a clock, and this is the this is the tuning lever is the, the minute or hour hand. Okay, so when I'm tuning it, I'm at, imagine this is at 12 o'clock right here. It's 12 o'clock, down here is 6 o'clock. Okay, so I'm pulling it up and I'm pulling it to like 1 o'clock. But when I'm pressing it down, I'm pressing it down to not to a full left or right at 6 o'clock, but I'm kind of going more to the 5 o'clock, or actually, sorry, if that's 9 o'clock, I'm going more to the 8 or 7 o'clock. So I know that sounds weird, but that's where we're aiming towards. It's not just pushing it backwards, it's actually down and backwards. And honestly, when I see technicians kind of coming from here, I'll tell you, I do not have as much control right here as I would like. But if I'm here, I feel everything. So I know I don't mean to be plugging that too much. Again, that's a technique that I use. I don't know if my mentor showed me that or I just picked it up over the years, but that seems to be really, it allows me to move the pin not only up to pitch and then pass, but then ease it back and really manipulate it.
I think it also depends on what hammer you kind of started off on. I think if you start off with a more linear, very straight, you're more likely to do that kind of from the side. Yeah. And if you have a ball end, then you kind of gravitate towards like the second way, holding the end. But you're definitely right. If there's like a unison that's giving me trouble, I will switch to the grip that you're more comfortable with because you do have more control. And if I'm really trying to lock in, I move to that position because you can get just the slightest click up or down or whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
If I'm speed, I go from the end because you can move a little faster, in my opinion. But for precision, I will switch over to really stabilize my arm and your whole movement.
I like that, speed versus precision. That's so true. So a lot of what we do is, especially as we're getting started with our businesses and working on customer pianos, is I feel like part of the job is like just second guessing ourselves the entire time. It's like, did that work? Did it hold? Are they going to be happy with it? And I'll just tell you that there are 3 things that we do here at Artisan within our apprentices and our technicians in the training process that helps us know whether or not they're ready to go out there and represent the company and do work. And so the first of our tests is actually just a test blow. We want to know, how hard do we have to hit that note for it to go out of tune? And so a lot of times we'll start, I had a tuning mute somewhere. A lot of times we'll start with muting off one of the three strings. So there's only two strings at play. And we'll go through and say, okay, you just tuned this whole octave. Sounds really nice. Good job, 15-year-old David. Thank you. Okay, now it's time to go ahead and a little bit of a wobble there. Okay. But then you'll go, and that's what you want to know. You want to, okay, how hard are they having to wail on the piano for it to kind of go out? And what you're going to find is as you go, okay, you'll start to learn that, how much it's going out. And you'll go through that octave you've just tuned and be like, whoa, that one went really far out of tune, really quick. That means what? I didn't actually move and set the tuning pin. I just twisted it. And that's important, is we can think that we've set the tuning pin and it sounds good and it sounds clean and it's beautiful, but maybe we only twisted the top portion instead of the entire thing, and that is what we're really hearing. That pure sound is not from a set tuning pin, a stable tuning pin. It's for something that's holding on by its dear life, and it just needs one nice, and then for it to shock and go out of tune. So that's the first thing that you should be doing in your own practicing. Okay, I've just practiced this octave. How hard do I have to press or hit these notes for it to go out of tune? Play around with that. I'm not a big fan of the notion of, one of my mentors, amazing technician, said this, and I don't doubt him because he's brilliant, but I just didn't connect with it. And he said, my test blows are as hard as I would want a concert. I play it as hard as a concert artist would play, because if I can hit it that hard and it not go out of tune, or stabilize it in that physical intense state, then it won't go out of tune. And I think that's fine. I think that's just a lot to put on it. And my other mentor was more of a tune quieter. I don't want to hear that much sound. And his tuning seemed to be just as stable. So there's both narratives out there. I'm a fan of a fairly hard test blow, medium hard, I would say. It's not dainty, it's not light, but it's not aggressive. But those test blows are a way that you can tell, are my tunings going to be stable? Am I actually setting the tuning pin? Which leads us to the next one that we test. Any questions about that first? Wow, nothing.
Quiet. No questions.
Guys are quiet. The next thing to do is simply twist the tuning pin a little bit, putting pressure left or right on it. And so this will be a note that, say you just tuned. Let's tune it up. Okay, so what you would do, so again, all of these things are the same as a grand, same as an upright. You'll simply take your note and you'll put a little bit of pressure one way or the other. And you'll hear that tuning start to swell a little bit, and then you stop and see if it goes back into place. So what we're doing is we're essentially moving just ever so slightly the top portion of the pin and letting go to see if it still stays in tune. Because in theory, if the base of our tuning pin is set and really stable, then no matter if we do a little bend at the top, it should, once we're done bending it, stay in tune. And that's another test that we do to test our stability and the longevity of our tuning. Does that make sense to everybody? That's an important one, and a lot of people don't know about that. You guys are easy. This is like, I guess you already knew about it. It's a big one. It's one of those things that really helps you understand what you're doing. Are you actually turning the tuning pin, or are you just simply twisting the top portion of it? And it's important to know the difference. Can anybody guess the final thing that we do to test the tuning stability or longevity of the tuning? We let it sit. We let it sit for a week, 2 weeks, a month, and we see how it stays in tune. This is really nice if you have access to a piano store with a lot of different pianos, because you're able to go and tune a piano in the corner that's just in storage and it's not being touched, and then come back to it after a week, 2 weeks, and see if it held tune. It's a really great exercise to do, just to see, even in its just staying in its one position, is it going to hold tune? So again, we want to do our test flows to test ourselves. We want to twist the tuning pins ever so slightly to see if we're actually set. And then finally, we want to give it some time to see if they're going to hold up. And that's what we do to test. And we're pretty rigorous on it, because we want stability, because guess what? Not only does it hurt our reputation when a technician goes out and the tuning isn't stable, it affects the customer. They're not happy about it. It costs us money, because we're going to pay our technician no matter what to go back out. So it's essential for us to make sure that our technicians' tunings are stable to the point of being worth charging, and then making the customer happy.
David, have you read in the Rightlet's book, whatever, the popular rebuilding book or whatever, how often it says pianos should get tuned? I didn't realize in there it says that even if you don't touch the piano, which, I always tell people, yeah, it needs to be tuned at least once a year. And so we've been telling that to people. They're always like, well, I don't play it that much. Do I really need to get it tuned once a year? And we're like, well, even if you didn't touch it for a whole year, you're still going to need to get it tuned. So, and it's pretty intense in that book. Like, they recommend every 3 months, like, for everybody. But I don't know, that's a little intense. But yeah,
I believe Yamaha recommends every season.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, almost every piano manufacturer will say like 2 times a year minimum. I mean, so yeah, every like seasonal.
I think that it's an important thing to tell the customer. Manufacturers recommend seasonal, every four times a year, having your piano tuned. Just so you know, Mrs. Smith, nobody does that. Most people will do it once or twice a year. What would you like to do? Well, not 4 times, but how about twice? Sounds great. Let's get you on the schedule.
Actually, that's so accurate. No one does. The only people who do like 4 times a year, they're like serious players, teachers. Like, it's very rare. Institutions.
Or just have a really sensitive ear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've been real lucky. We've been getting a lot of 6-month schedules. Like right now, we scheduled a whole bunch 6 months ago. So luckily, a lot of those are popping up. And then, like, the gentleman today, he was like, "Get me down for every 3-4 months." And I was like, "I think you're the only person that's ever asked that." So we're pretty excited for that.
That's a good customer.
Just mentioning that mentioning that is really important, because it kind of gets you out of the hot seat in a way, because it resets the expectation. Because a lot of people think, well, if I don't play it, it shouldn't go out of tune. And why would I tune it every 5 years and it should stay in tune. And why didn't your tuning stay in tune for 5 years? This is a really important thing to educate your customers. Say, you know what? Manufacturers actually recommend 4 times a year. Nobody really ever does that. Most people will do it once or twice a year. And that really helps change the conversation and allows you to kind of, it takes you out of the crosshairs if there ever is an issue, say 6 months down the line. And I think, Stacey, we literally just had one today that they're like, hey, we want you to come out and tune up our piano, and it's gone really out of tune. It was like 100 degrees yesterday out of the blue, and she hasn't tuned in over like a year and a half. So sorry, we're not going to come out and do a free tuning, but you're due for a tuning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Questions about anything we've covered? Just to kind of recap, we've talked about position and technique, specifically your body position and your techniques in getting close to the tuning pin and shortening that distance. We also talked about doing the smaller ratcheting style techniques, and then finally doing an overpull and then locking in that note with a nice test blow. Not too hard, not too soft. And we also talked about the 3 ways that we test. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was just going to say there's a lot of videos that I've seen about tuning stability correlating to what you're talking about, pushing down when easing it in. A lot of technicians believe that you're releasing pressure when you are pushing down, and it's releasing that pressure that otherwise would release during a hard blow. So I feel like that's a trend right now. Instead of doing the hard blows, we're seeing a lot more quiet tuners using the pushing down to release tension instead of a hard blow. And you could, the big guy that's kind of talking about it right now is Mark Serrazano, RPT. He's always very controversial. He kind of stirs the pot, but I really like some of the stuff he talks about. But he does use science to back up what he says. Yes, Mark Serrazano. But if you look back, I like to watch a lot of recordings of old tuners and technicians at their technique. Like if you look at Franz Moore, he's pushing down and down and to counterclockwise. But his technique is kind of like what you're saying. He kind of pinches the back of the lever. So yeah, they kind of hold it different, but he is still using that kind of pushing down real hard. Same with if you look at Stefan Knufta, he's the chief technician for Steinway, Austria. He pushes down real hard, closer to the tuning pin, but he pushes straight down. And the first time I saw him do it, I was like, what is he doing? But he'll do it a lot, and he's not even hitting the note anymore. I think he's just trying to equalize the pressure. So I think it does work.
First off, Victor, I love how into this craft you are, that you're literally watching videos of other technicians tuning. That's legit. That's dedication. Yeah. And that's fantastic, because that's how you learn. And by the way, Mark, I don't know how controversial he is, but he legit knows his stuff, and he's a phenomenal tuner. And I'm happy to hear that he does that same technique, because it just does make sense with that downward motion. It's this idea of quiet tuning, and I don't know if that this idea of quiet, subtle, that subtleness I think is so huge, that organic subtleness. And it's not and the best tuners I've seen and experienced, they are subtle. And I think that you're right. It's that overpull, and then turning it backwards and then downwards to kind of release that tension right there. And again, I'm not one of those technicians that knows about the science and all the engineering behind it. I'm just one of those people that have done a lot of tunings and figured out kind of what works for me. So everything you're saying falls in line. And maybe it's one of those things, Victor, that we have forgotten something and are now just coming back to it. And that'd be cool.
Exactly, yeah, because the more I look at these older guys, they're kind of using that same technique, kind of like Virgil Smith. I mean, he's pretty big in aural tuning, but he's an older, that's an old school tuner right there, but he uses that same technique, and that's kind of where Mark Serrazano gets it from. But Mark is also a big he talks a lot about also where the tension is being held. And so sometimes he says even going up instead of coming down, because when you're loosening, the non-speaking length is loose. And what happens is when you do a hard blow, it's retightening the non-speaking length. therefore changing the pitch. So if you're going down and then come back up to tighten the speaking length, sometimes that can be effective as to getting rid of or to help instability. But he has tons of videos, or maybe not that many, but I heard that in a podcast. That's kind of a little more rare. I can put links to that. But he's very big though, because he has his own school, and the reason he kind of started doing this is because he doesn't want tuners to go deaf. You know, he doesn't want tuners to be doing hard blows and damaging their ears. So to him, it's more a health thing. And also, like who wants to be in a house where the client can't even watch their TV or read their book in peace, and you're over there wailing on the keys? So I think it's just better all around. Like, why would you not do it if you can?
Yeah, if you can do it. It's just so strange how many things that we get told are the right way of doing something, and then to find out that like actually no, you don't even have to do that. And sometimes it's like, wait, what? And it's just like a shocking thing because you've been doing it for years. And then to find out that like there's another way that you can totally do as good or better job without doing it that way. Just always be open to that. And I have to remind myself of that, because for me, I don't mind if anybody does a different way as long as, and they show it to me and want me to kind of adhere to it. And I will, if it's better, if it's better for myself, the piano, the overall product, the customer, I'll totally do it. There's no ego here. I want it to be better. So.
Well, Victor says, Mark, so he has his own YouTube channel. And
Yes.
He basically said the exact same thing you did. He said the number one reason you're going to get called back is because you have a unison that goes out of tune. And then,
Mark.
so then he kind of pitches his sale. You know, he wants you to purchase more product, but yeah, he's got a lot of videos.
Yeah, exactly. And also, you were talking about the cyber tuner team, and I told you about Carl Lieberman. He's really big on, even though he's real big on cyber tuner, his main thing every time he talks about tuning is he talks about the 3 S's: stability, stability, stability. And like, who cares about everything else if it's not stable? So he always talks about, well, who cares how good your temperament is, or how good your stretch was? Is it going to stay like that for any reasonable amount of time? And that's all really he cares about. And I mean, that's coming from a guy who is on the cyber team. So, you would think to him it would be more important about how, the stretch or your octaves or intervals. But no, to him, it's and even though I guess Cyber Tuner can help you visualize what you're doing to the pin, that's all it comes down to you. Cyber Tuner is not going to help you with that. So for him to say that, it's very important.
Well, and this is probably a broad statement. I have to be careful of this one. I find that the ETD tuners, the people that learned how to tune with an ETD, I feel like they have a leg up in some way because they're only trying to do stable unisons. The reality is the ETD does the work for you. It really does create the temperament. It creates the stretch. You're following the roadmap, which allows you to just follow the roadmap and really set those tuning pins and lock in those unisons. And then people go, and this is what our technicians would do, and then they go and learn more of the aural tuning temperament, but they're just learning to lock in those unisons. And that's actually how we're teaching it in the school now, is we want you to start with an ETD because it gives you, it's almost like the bumper. Have you ever taken your kids or even just gone to like the bowling alleys and they put the little bumpers down so you don't go over the edges? It kind of feels like that. And so you get to just focus on the tuning stability and locking in notes. And then from there, because what I've found is that when people are so focused on their temperament, making sure their fifths and everything sound right, they're kind of ginger babying that tuning pin just to sound just right. And then you go to hit it and it just goes all over the place because they're not really locked in. So I feel like if you learn to lock in those notes, if you learn to make those unisons just gorgeous and stable, then you bring in the building of the temperament, you've really created a superb tuning technique and ability. But again, this is my opinion. This is David's opinion. Take with it what you will.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good compromise, because if you do look like at Mark's system that he does in his school, you start off aural, but it's all no temperament strips. You start off by tuning your A4, go to A3, but you're tuning that like we would with the ETD. You're tuning one string and tuning the other two. Then you're using the whole unison to tune the next. And for him, he says, well, that's how, I guess, kind of the same thing that you guys are doing. You're getting really good at unisons from the start. But with him, though, you're doing unisons with intervals. But that's very, I don't know. I feel like most people can't do that. It's just like you're saying, it's too much to think of both at the same time. The temperament intervals and getting super pure unisons where you can even do intervals, I think it's too much for beginners. So that's why the ETD, I think you're completely right with, don't worry about the intervals, let the machine do that. And you get your unisons good, then move on to trying temperaments with clean unisons. It's the best of both worlds.
And with my stint working with PTA, I was fortunate enough to work with literally hundreds of technicians all over the world. And it was we followed, I think they've abandoned this since then, but we had to kind of follow the program of like doing it orally and training it this way for an RPT. And I would see so much of that fire and that light almost like go out of them because it was too much. They couldn't figure it out. And there wasn't enough of this baby step, drip feed of successes and little wins. And I wonder how many technicians could have been technicians that maybe fell away because there was too much too soon that they had to learn and balance. And so I'm a big fan of learning to tune with the device and ETD and really getting inspired and catching that bug of just, I like this. This is fun. I can do this, and then go on and progress. I think that sometimes we give too much to people, and then it's too much. It's just too much, and it's too overwhelming, and then people give up. So,
yeah, I'll be the first one to tell you that's how I was. I dove. I wanted to do both, but the aspect of trying to do a temperament and all these clean unisons, it was too much for me, and we were so busy with repairs. I gotta learn how to tune later, and it was every time I think about it, I would get so weird and worried. And it wasn't until I got CyberTuner, tuned my first piano. It didn't take a couple of days like it was taking before, and it came out. It came out decent, and I was like, "Here we go." And exactly what you're saying, like I felt good again, and I was like, "No, I can do this." I have help now from this ETD, and so. But I think it also my mentor definitely didn't help because he's so anti ETD. So he made me feel real bad for using it, but I realized like, well, if it's helping me, then what? Like, why should I matter? Or why should it matter what he says?
Good for you.
But
no. My goal for the school, Stacey and I were talking about this the other day, and my goal for the school. I mean, I want everybody watching these videos. I want everybody attending the classes or going to our courses. I want them to learn all of the things that are important. I do. There are specs, there are techniques, there are everything. There's all this stuff, but above everything else, my dream for everybody here would be that they become inspired by this craft and enjoy it. And that's the thing that if Artisan has done anything to help inspire or to help nurture that little spark, that's all I care about. Because from there, you will learn, you will grasp things, you will go further than I ever will. But it has to come with that inspiration. And inspiration is not just dutiful at all. It's fun. It's like, I can do this. Kind of I could even hear the timbre of your voice, Victor, change when you're like, oh yeah, here's the CyberTuner. I got this now. I'm inspired. I can do this. That's what the Artisan School is all about. And that's been fun because there's so many there's so many schools out there that will teach you what you need to push this down 10 millimeters and that's your dip. Okay. But I want to have fun doing it, and I want to rock it and make it just amazing and be inspired by that. And I don't know how we're going to do it all, but that's kind of the essence of what we're trying to do here, is really just inspire people to have fun, geek out to this, and just embrace this craft, because it is a craft, Pianocraft, And boy, I've been doing it for 25 years, and I love what I do. Even the hard days, I love what I do. So that's my soapbox. And I'm glad you're all here, still listening. Unless you guys froze, and I wouldn't even know. I'm just gonna sign off.
No, we're here. Preach on.
So
David, quick question.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so if you're pushing the hammer down when you're setting the pin on a grand, do you push the hammer towards you when you're setting the pin on an upright?
It's a great question. Let me see if I can do this. So I've just put a tuning, the tuning lever. Wait, oh, sorry. Let's do this. Okay, I'm putting the tuning lever on the tuning pin. Let's go a little bit further down here so I don't have the setup. So I'm right here. I'm pulling it up towards me. Again, I'm kind of utilizing the shoulder, this arm, kind of at that, again, Cupid zero, archery kind of position right here. I'm doing this. And yeah, so what I'm actually doing is I'm pressing it away from me and towards this area. What is that? If I'm looking straight and that's 12 o'clock, I'm pushing it more towards 10:30, 11 o'clock. So it's not just backwards, it's over to that direction. Does that make sense? So I'm bringing it up to pitch, easing it back down, and I'm pressing it away from the piano in a downward position. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So you're always tilting the pin towards the strings when you're.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. That's what I was gonna say.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how
I
I
figure
do
if
it.
the string's gonna pull the pin, I should give it extra, just settle it that way.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's how Mark talks about it. And the more I watch my mentor, he doesn't talk about it, but that's what he does. Like, you should see your arm kind of flexing coming in. Like if you were doing like a curl. Since you're pulling towards you, you are engaging that kind of bicep muscle. So you should feel like you should see it. Yeah.
Victor's doing that like, oh yeah, hey, I'm not.
Getting a pump out of tuning. Yeah.
That's funny.
I have one last question, David.
Yeah.
Are you going to have a console there? Because I hate tuning those. Because the grand, the position's great, upright, you stand up, but the console is a squatty, your back hurts, trying to balance the pressure on your legs. I'd like to see that a little bit. But
that's a great question. Stacy, was that today that I sent that email?
We literally talked about that today. Literally, like, we need a console. Let's get that. And we're working on it, actually. I think we might get it this week. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
So,
we're going to have
Robert,
it this week. We're working on it.
You're 100% right. We need a console. We have the full size upright. We have the spinets and we have the studios, but we need a console for people to kind of sink their teeth into and get their exercise and watch Victor like muscle out. And
Yeah, I hadn't tuned one in a while, and I did one this morning. I sat down because I'm too tall to do it standing up, and my shoulder was killing me. But I can do a studio sitting down, and I'm just fine. But I was like, God, this is brutal, and I was getting real tired. And I tried standing up. Nope, it's too low. But yeah, you're right. I hate it, and I wear cowboy boots, so kind of. I usually spread my stance to get a little lower, but with boots, it's not as comfortable. So I didn't have a good time this morning. But yeah, you kind of just got to manhandle it at that point. You got to sit down and just go through it.
Hands down, console is my least favorite piano to tune. Consoles, give me a spinet any day. I'll tune a spinet, 10 spinets to one console. Oh, a lot of talk about Mark. We should have Mark on the show. Like this is like a No, Mark's fantastic. I'd like to bring him on because him and I have connected over the years, and I really very much admire Mark and what he's doing, and he cares so much about it, and his passion just exudes out of everything he does. And like what Victor said, it's not out of a selfish motivation. It's out of literally, I believe this is the best way to do it, and this will help tuners. And I love that. I love that about Mark.
Yeah, go watch any one of his videos. It's Mark Sarzano, RPT, or How to Tune Pianos, I think, on YouTube. That's the name of the channel. But every video is super scientific. He's always going to back it up with some sort of theory or scientific proof. Yeah, but any video that says stability or he talks about stability, worth watching. And we try to implement that in everything we do. Yeah, I'll try to put some in the chat because they're really
great.
cool.
No, I'd like to do that. And it'd be fun to talk with him because you'd get a very much polar opposite of somebody who's very scientific. And then you'd have me. Yeah, I think that's what you do. That sounds right. And so I'd love to kind of pair the two of us together. That'd be a blast. So, all right. The rest of the week, I think we're doing something on Wednesday. I'm not sure what it is, but then on Friday, Stacy, we doing something on Friday?
Yeah.
What am I doing on Friday?
Key easing.
Oh, key easing. Yes, key easing on Friday. And we'll see about something for Wednesday. That's right.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Okay. Thanks, you guys. Wait, what? It's Monday. It's Monday the 11th. That means next week will be the 18th. That's kind of cool.
Great.
We'll be there.
We got,
Okay.
it's gonna be a lot of fun. All right.
Guys.
We'll get a console. All right. See ya.